What would you do if the person who held your career in their hands despised you for no reason at all? That was the question that haunted me every morning as I stepped into the glass-walled offices of Pinnacle Media, where ambition clashed with cruelty under the reign of my boss, Richard Hale. He was a titan in the industry, a man whose charm won clients and whose venom crushed employees. And for reasons I could never pinpoint, Emma Carter, became his favorite target. It started small. A snide comment about my pitch in a meeting. A deliberate exclusion from a key project. But soon, it escalated into something darker. Richard would assign me impossible deadlines, then berate me publicly when I scrambled to meet them. He'd take credit for my ideas, passing them off as his own in boardroom presentations. Once, he accidentally deleted a critical report I'd spent weeks preparing, leaving me to face the client's fury alone. Whispers among colleagues painted a grim picture. Richard had a history of breaking people, especially young women who dared to shine. I wasn't naive. I knew workplaces could be brutal, but this was personal. Every jab, every sabotage, felt like a calculated move to push me out. I'd lie awake at night, my stomach knotted, wondering if I was the problem. Was I too soft? Too ambitious? But then I'd remember my mother's words. Strength isn't loud, Emma. It's quiet, and it builds. I decided I wouldn't break. I'd fight. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday. Richard called me into his office, his smirk sharp as a blade. He handed me a performance review that branded me incompetent and unprofessional. It was a lie, and he knew it. My metrics were stellar. My campaigns had driven record engagement. But the review was a weapon, a step toward firing me. As I left his office, my hands trembling, I made a choice. I wouldn't just survive Richard Hale, I'd expose him. I started quietly. I saved every email, every memo, every snide remark he sent. I documented late-night texts demanding last-minute changes, knowing they'd contradict his public praise of team autonomy. I kept records of my work, time-stamped and backed up, to counter his claims of my incompetence. Colleagues, hesitant at first, began sharing their own stories. Sarah from accounting told me how Richard had humiliated her in front of clients. Mark, a junior designer, admitted he'd been forced to work unpaid overtime to meet Richard's whims. A pattern emerged, a toxic culture Richard had cultivated for years. The real breakthrough came when I found the smoking gun. While reviewing old project files, I discovered an email chain Richard had accidentally CC'd me on. In it, he instructed a senior manager to falsify performance data to justify firing another employee, a woman who, like me, had challenged his authority. It was proof of his manipulation, his abuse of power. My heart raced as I saved the file to a secure drive. This wasn't just about me anymore. Building the case took months. I worked in secret, meeting with colleagues in coffee shops, collecting sworn statements. I consulted a lawyer friend who helped me organize the evidence into an airtight dossier. Every late night, every moment of doubt, was fueled by a fire I hadn't known I possessed. I wasn't just fighting for my job, I was fighting for everyone Richard had hurt. When I finally submitted the dossier to HR and the board, I expected pushback. Richard was a star, after all, a rainmaker who brought in millions. But the evidence was undeniable. The emails, the testimonies, the falsified records, they painted a portrait of a man who'd abused his power for too long. The board launched an investigation, and within weeks, Richard was suspended. The news broke like wildfire. Pinnacle Media exec ousted amid allegations of workplace misconduct. My name stayed out of the headlines, but the story didn't. Reporters dug into Richard's history, uncovering scandals he'd buried for years. His career was over. I won't pretend it was easy. The months that followed were a blur of stress and scrutiny. Some colleagues thanked me quietly. Others kept their distance, wary of being seen as troublemakers. But I felt lighter. I'd reclaimed my voice, my dignity. Pinnacle Media implemented new policies, and I was offered a promotion not as a reward, but because my work had always spoken for itself. Looking back, I realized Richard's cruelty didn't just test me, it shaped me. It taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. I didn't set out to make headlines. I just wanted to survive. But in standing up, I found something greater, the power to change not just my story, but the stories of those who'd come after me. And that, I think, is what makes a life worth living.